I'd like to extend a special welcome to our relatives and friends of the graduates, and to our distinguished guests, Lieutenant Colonel Openshaw, Mr. Blood, and Major Marsh. I'd also like to congratulate our graduates. Class, you just finished over 1,300 hours of intense technical training. I know it was a lot of work, but you guys can be proud of your accomplishments. And we've all known for some time now that Lowry Air Force Base is closing. But over the last few months, the reality of this has become very apparent here at the metrology school. As the weeks go by and we have less and less students, the old building over there is getting quieter by the day. In fact, most of the rooms are already empty, and much of the equipment has already been packed up and shipped out. And now we're down to that final stage. These students that you see here make up the final graduating class of the Air Force Metrology course here at Lowry Air Force Base. After this class leaves, all that's left to do is pack up the remaining equipment, sweep the floors, and lock up the building. So without further delay, let's begin the ceremony. Class, prepare for graduation. Lieutenant Colonel Openshaw, would you please do us the honor of presenting the diplomas to the final graduating class?
You didn't go through anything like that.
Major Guang Yu Jun. Captain Khaled M. Darwish. Technical Sergeant Gonzalo S. Saniel. They worked very hard for these diplomas. Would you all please give them a round of applause? And now would you please welcome our squadron commander, Lieutenant Colonel Openshaw.
Thanks a lot, Sergeant Barley. We got more people here than show up for my squadron commander's calls. It's a pleasure. I want to begin by personally welcoming all who came to witness the graduation of the last basic metrology course, especially our guests from the Precision Measurement Association and all of our other PMEL alumni. I also want to thank the graduating class for inviting me to fill in for Colonel Weissman, our group commander who couldn't make it here today. But, and to speak at this very historic occasion, but also a bittersweet occasion. Bitter in that the graduation we just witnessed marks the end of an era of basic metrology here at Lowry. As Sergeant Varley mentioned, we've already begun packing, loading equipment, moving people out to new locations, and soon we'll be closing the doors on all metrology training here at Lowry. But let's remember that this is also a sweet occasion. Sweet that this marks the beginning of our 7 graduates into the metrology career field. Also, it has given us a chance for the old heads to mingle with the new, to share stories, and say goodbye to an era. Now, it seems to me that the Denver area is perhaps the mecca for all the PMEL specialists. After all, you have your association located here. I suppose it's because many of you retired here after milking your instructor tours as long as you did. I suspected it as everybody here in metrology going to Keesler Air Force Base left Denver begrudgingly and kicking and screaming the whole way. In fact, the staff there at Keesler has become quite concerned with this unusual longing. They're longing for all its metrology instructors for a soon and quick return back to the Denver area. But I think the one case that convinced me that this draw to Denver was truly a solid one was that of Sergeant PMEL. Now, for those of you who don't know Sergeant PMEL, he was a gent that had been at Lowry for about 14 years as an instructor. And this guy worked it so that as soon as he graduated from the basic course, he stayed right here at Lowry until he was forced to leave a few months ago to go to Keesler Air Force Base. Well, I sadly have to report that Sergeant PMEL has run into a few medical problems since his arrival at Keesler and is now in the hospital there at Keesler. It appears that Sergeant PMEL got into some kind of accident where he got banged up pretty badly. The doctor there at Keesler fixed him up but told him that he'd have to amputate his right leg to save his life. After Sergeant PMEL recovered from the shock of this bad news, he asked the doctor if he could do him one favor. The doctor, being a compassionate man that he is, said of course that he would. Sergeant PMEL said, "Would you put the leg in the next truck back to Lowry?" Put a note on it saying, "In service of my country and my profession." Well, the doctor agreed, and it was soon done. Well, a week later, the doctor came in with the sad news that the other leg would have to be amputated. Sergeant PMEL was naturally upset again, but again requested that the doctor please have the next truck again going to Lowry, take this leg also with him, but put the label on, "In service of my country and my profession." Again, the doctor agreed to his unusual request, and it was soon done. A month later, the doctor came in again and told Sergeant PMEL he was sorry, but to save his life, he'd have to amputate his right hand. Sergeant PMEL started to make his unusual request once again, but the doctor interrupted and said, "I'm very sorry, but I can't grant your request this time." Sergeant PMEL asked why not. The doctor replied, "Sergeant PMEL, the group commander thinks you're trying to escape Keesler." I suppose what I think I'd like to do at this point is to put this whole metrology last class, Lowry Air Force Base closing issue in perspective. I want to do that for two reasons. One is to help the people here, both in and outside the Air Force, understand what's going on with the drawdown of our military forces, how fast that is happening. Second, to help our new graduates understand the challenges they have in front of them based on the drawdown. Over the last 4 years, the global defense picture has changed quite dramatically, as we all know. The breakup of the Soviet Union, the fall of the Berlin Wall, has meant that the huge red threat is no longer. The defense buildup during the 1980 Reagan years has paid off. We won the Cold War. So now we must draw down. Draw down so that our nation leaders can not only make best use of our taxpayers' dollars, but still keep us the most reckoned force to deal with in the world. However, peace is no longer priceless. I suppose now you're asking yourself, how do we draw down, save taxpayers' dollars, and still preserve combat capability to deal with the likes of Iraq, Bosnia, and the North Koreans? It means we must change our mindset. Change our mindset to be more businesslike. We must get ourselves out of the Cold War philosophy of being an effective force to more of a business philosophy of being an efficient force. It means we must constantly ask ourselves, can we do it better? Is this quality? It means we must consolidate, become more purple or joint, and depend on our allies to help us out, and we help them. So what is the magnitude of this drawdown? The magnitude is this. This year, our active duty military has drawn down 32%. Our reserve forces have drawn down 20%. Our civilian workforce, down 29%. Army divisions, down 45%. Battle force ships, down 37%. Fighter aircraft, down 40%. If you will, let me put this in different terms. The average monthly net DoD losses are as follows. Active duty military this year is drawing down at a rate of 7,800 personnel per month. In FY95, it'll be $7,100 per month. Our civilian personnel workforce this year is drawing down $1,165 per month. Next year it will be $4,100 per month. 4 ships will be mothballed each month this year. Next year, 1 per month. 41 aircraft per month are being taken out of service this year. 37 aircraft per month next year. And finally, 1 base per month will close for the duration of this year and for the duration of next year. Now perhaps these numbers I've just told you have surprised you. I know when I first heard them, I too was set back at the magnitude of the drawdown. I'm telling you this because this all means we need the community's support and understanding as why bases are closing one after the next, as unpalatable as it may seem. We also ask that you trust the military and its leaders. Given the congressional mandates to which we must adhere to, we are doing the best we can. We know what we're doing, and we're doing no different than the major corporations around the country are doing. We are doing it efficiently, and we're doing it with quality. I suppose our young graduates are saying to themselves, so what does this have to do with me? I'm young, and this drawdown stuff will be history by the time I approach re-enlistment. Not so. We need your understanding of what's going on so that quality will always be on the top of your minds. Quality in the way you do your work, finding better ways to do your work, and always seeking ways to improve yourself professionally and personally. For our foreign national graduates, I hope you'll take an understanding of this back with you to your country. The United States is where exactly the United States is going militarily. So when it comes to time that we need your help, you'll be there for us, and vice versa. When you need the help of us, we'll be there to help you. Well, from the looks of the crowd, it looks as though I've done my job. You know, the duty of the first speaker is to be so infernally dull that the succeeding speaker will appear brilliant by contrast. Mr. Blood, I think I've set you up for a great speech. Congratulations, graduates. I'm proud of you. You all completed the toughest course in the United States Air Force. We're all proud of you. Do good, and drive safe getting to your next location. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel Openshaw. Our next speaker and our final speaker is Mr. George Blood. Mr. Blood spent 20 years in the Air Force from 1960 to 1980. He was sent here to Lowry Air Force Base for his first tech school to become a B-47 tail turret mechanic. Immediately after completing tech school, he volunteered to be an instructor at the basic electronics course here. Upon completion of his enlistment, they were phasing out the B-47s, so he had to cross-train. And it was then that he heard about PMEL. So he went and spoke with the base lab chief at the time of the lab here, Senior Master Sergeant Fisher, and he was soon accepted as a PMEL technician. And thus started what has been a 30-year career in metrology. During his 16 years in Air Force metrology, he's held many positions, such as classroom instructor, course rider, QA inspector, and lab chief. And he spent 14 of his years in the service right here at Lowry Air Force Base, with assignments to Turkey, Shepherd, Vietnam, and Shimmy rounding out the other 6. So it sounds like Lowry was definitely the best of the lot. After retiring from the Air Force, he went to work at Rocky Flat, where he is still employed. For his first 10 years at Rocky Flats, he was a PMEL technician. His duties now include, among other things, the training and qualification of personnel in the Metrology Laboratories Group. Would you please welcome Mr. George Blood.
Thank you, Sergeant Barley. I appreciate that. You got it pretty much right the way I wrote it. Colonel Openshaw, I hope I can... I would like to add my congratulations to the class that did just graduate today. I hope you enjoy your career in metrology as much as I have. I've been in 30 years. Had an opportunity last fall to take an early retirement, and besides not getting enough money to live on from that, I decided I really wasn't ready to get out of the field yet. So most of you have got a lot of good years, and like I say, I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. In 1958, after returning from a friendly inspection of the Russian military training facilities, General Doolittle recommended that a calibration course similar to the one he saw in Russia would be of great benefit to the U.S. The Pentagon, through ATC headquarters, asked for bids from ATC bases where a similar school could be established. Henry May, then assigned to the photo school here at Lowry, drafted a course outline, syllabus, and other documents that were submitted by Lowry. Lowry was awarded the course. 10 specialists in several technical specialties were selected from ATC to initiate the course. Master Sergeant Manweiler was the NCOIC. These 10 men were sent to Gentile Air Depot in Dayton, Ohio, where during the next 6 weeks of training, they were introduced to the theory and practical application of basic standards of precision measurement, primarily in the electronic instrumentation area. Upon their return to Lowry, their assignment was to write the training material, as none was available at that time. Additional instructors reported and were trained. Suggested starting dates for the course had to be changed for lack of equipment and anticipated space needs. Finally, on April 1st, 1959, the first class started. The students had to be in the first 3 grades, and they had to have at least 3 years left on the current enlistment. For several months, the top floor of the photo building of Building 380 was the home of the PMEL course until Building 375A became available. As the need for training in other technical phases was recognized by the Air Force, they were added, and so were additional weeks and more instructors. Eventually, the course expanded to 35 weeks. Originally, the PMEL course was set up for Air Force only. But soon other military branches recognized the importance of having men trained in this specialty. The Navy was the first to send men to the Lowry, and then came selected military members from allied nations. One shift in Building 375A were not enough. Building 1433 and several other buildings became the next homes for the female branch, and the school added one shift after another until the course was in session for 4 6-hour shifts. And whenever special courses for very unique equipment were needed, Lowry was able to supply them. More than 50,000 people have graduated from the basic course, and students have come from all branches of the U.S. services and 21 foreign services. This is perhaps the only complete school where calibration is taught in electronics, physical, dimensional, optical, chemical, mechanical, or combinations of these disciplines. It is capable to meet any and all needs of keeping the equipment of the military in the most dependable and reliable condition for the defense of this country. Can you all hear me in the back all right?
Yep.
I would like to introduce some of those that were here during the very early years. Do we have a lot of people out in the hall?
No, really, just mostly GIs.
Well, back when we had what we called the VDP panels, which were the visual display panels, were the white ones, we used to clean them off with a sponge. It used to get real good. I could catch a sleeping student in the back of the classroom with a wet sponge. And I'm sure a few others here could do the same thing. I would like to introduce some of the people that were here during the very early days of the metrology training branch. Mr. Henry May, would you please stand up? Henry is the one. Mr. Dave Moore sitting over here. I meant to talk with him earlier. Dave, you were with Henry. You were one of the first or the first training officer?
No, not the first training officer. Mr. McCanty was the first training officer. I replaced him.
Okay. But he was here with Henry when things got started. Another one that was not necessarily here right at the very beginning, but she was here for a long time in the early years, Joyce Graham. And if you wanted to know where somebody had been transferred or where they went, you asked Joyce. And of course, in the early days, those of us that were here, we knew who ran the school. Lee Lawson. I saw Lee here. He's hiding out there. Lee was here. Joyce Graham were instrumental in keeping the yearly Christmas dinner going in the early years. Shortly thereafter, when Lee and Joyce got a little tired of it after about 10 years, I think, Ernie Huffine, sitting over here, got control of it. Ernie wasn't quite old, but he's been around for a long time. And by the way, Ernie is here thanks to his very understanding wife, Carol, who bought him a round-trip air ticket to come here for this, just for the graduation, for his birthday. He came in from Cleveland. That's back that way. Some of the early instructors that came in ended up being instructors before they'd even had a chance to go through the course. Art Malky is here. Art, back there, David Baxter. I think Andre Grable made it. Once they were signed up here, they got up here, started school. They needed Vern Cooper. Okay, sorry, Vern. They started school, and they needed instructors, so they got yanked out. By the way, Vern is in from Chattanooga, Tennessee, on a Heat Cheats. He flies Space A. Some of the first students that went through, Mr. Ken Niles, Kenny, right here. Bart, standing there in the back. Jim Meyer, he's back there. These are some of the first students that come through. We've got the last students here. We got the first students out here. We've got some of the last instructors from Lowry. We've got some of the first instructors from Lowry. Also, pretty much once a month we try to have a little get-together where we sit down, and if the wives have been nice to us for the last month, we bring them out, we buy them lunch, and we sit around and tell lies. We'd like to invite any and all that would like to join us. A lot of people seem to feel it's the old fogies' home. Yeah, some of us are a little older, but we're willing to have young blood show up anytime they want. We normally hold this over at the Sunset Lounge on Alameda, just outside the Alameda Gate, to 12 o'clock until we get tired and leave. Tomorrow happens to be the third Saturday, so we'll be over there tomorrow starting at noon. Anybody that would like to come over and say hi, we'd love to have you. We usually do that the third Saturday of every month, except for February. Thank you, Tim. February, when they have a major dart tournament over there, and then we have to find some other pub to go to. The third Saturday in June, we try to have a picnic for the families at Fitzsimmons, and the first Saturday in December, we have a sit-down dinner, which is usually at one of the local hotels, usually somewhere around the airport. Anybody that would like to join, there's no joining to it, anybody that would like to attend any of these, you're welcome. Just come over. You're going to have to bust in and say hi and introduce yourselves because we may not recognize you. I started to ad-lib, and now I don't know where I'm at. There are some questionnaires out on the table out there asking about when you were here at Lowry, when you're retired, if you're still active, when you're going to get out, whatever. If you want to get in the database, I maintain a database to keep track of the people that are around. From time to time, we'll send out flyers reminding people of our Saturday get-togethers, of our picnic, of our Christmas dinner. And if you'd like to be included in those mailings, fill out one of the questionnaires out there and we'll put you in. Amos Tomlin back here, who's been around for a while. Amos, wave your hand. There you are. Amos does most of our mailing for us. There's also an attendance log out there. I'd like to have you all sign that if you would please, so I can keep track of who was here. Also, if you have, those of you that are been in the business for a while, the new ones possibly, if you have any pictures of any of the labs that you've been at, or you have any articles of metrology interest from the labs that you've been at or that you're currently at or that you're going to go at, if you could take a minute and send them to me, I'd appreciate it, because I'm trying to put together a kind of a history. There are some photo albums and some scrapbooks out on the table out there. Feel free to look at. This is some of the material that I've already collected. Kind of curious, how many current instructors do we have in here? We got a whole pile on the hall out here because Sergeant Varley wouldn't let them come in. How many of the rest of you that are in here are not currently instructors, but are some of us old-timers? I'll give you an idea of all these people at one time or another have been instructors here in the school. And Sergeant Varley said I spent about 14 years here. Lee, how many years were you here?
We went to south.
He was here forever, I think. He was here longer than I was.
He's over at the pub.
Yeah, we got another gentleman that has been associated with the school here for a number of years. After he retired, he started teaching at one of the local tech schools here. Glenn, you still back here? Glenn Hemingway back there. Stop by and say hi. Very happy that he was able to get here today, and I thank Art Malky back here for giving him a hand coming. Anybody have any questions I might be able to answer? Again, I'd like to thank Colonel Openshaw for allowing us to do what we did today. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up. It makes me feel real good because I was telling these people we're probably going to pack the room. We thought we might have it outside, but we figured that if we had it outside, we'd have a foot of snow today. We decided to have it inside, and Sergeant Plummer, where are you at? Back there. Kelvin back here. He was kind of my liaison in here, and he kind of suggested we might want to have it at the youth center, but I said no. A lot of us have put a lot of time in here. We want to have it here. So we had it here. So anyways, I thank everybody for coming. Gene Papanoff, sorry I forgot you.
I think we should all give Henry May a hand. He celebrates his 86th birthday Monday the 21st.
How many?
86.
86. Ladies and gentlemen that have been here for any length of time that I forgot to introduce, such as Gene here, my apologies. I knew I'd forget somebody. That happens. They tell me it's because I use too much hair oil and things slip my mind. Oh, one more thing if I may. Almost forgot something. I've got a letter here from Cape Canaveral. I'd like to read it to you. The following personnel are actively engaged in metrology at Kennedy Space Center. All the listed personnel wish to offer a great thank you for providing the necessary vocational training that permits them to live productive and useful lives. And each feels that the training they received is now being returned to the nation as an aid to the exploration of space. This was sent up to me from T.C. Brown, and I think Robert Kennedy was also instrumental in it. There is a copy of it out in one of the books out there. This gives you an idea what some of the people out in the field are thinking. Thank you. I'm done now.
Thank you, Mr. Flood. If I could ask graduates, if you would please stick around for a few minutes after the ceremony. We have, I think, a photographer that wants to take some pictures. And any metrology instructors, current instructors, I think they want some pictures of you too, so please don't take off. This concludes the formal portion of our ceremony. If you would please stick around, congratulate the graduates, and have some cake and coffee. Thank you very much for being here.